Travis Wingoodcell. This one's going to be on Mormon elitism and how it contributes to white supremacist abuse, as the majority of Mormons have been white supremacists. Growing up in the Mormon church, I was the firstborn birthright blessing son, and my parents made sure to keep us in white neighborhoods as we moved from place to place. So it was new subdivisions, because back in the 80s, late 70s, blacks were still trying to become equal in society after the Civil Rights Movement and was it the 25th Amendment or the 21st Amendment that gave equality to everyone. But there was still the bigotry and hatred that was preventing the following through with the laws, which then would force it into the courts. And then the idea is that if blacks or women or whatever other discriminated group took it to court and were successful in winning up to the Supreme Court, then it was expected that the Supreme Court would somewhere along the line support white supremacy. But it would come at a cost if white supremacists lose. And even when they lose, they still don't stop. That's part of the problem of our court system. But as a Mormon, I was born and raised to believe that I was a great and noble spirit, chosen to come down at this particular time in life. As President Benson, when he took office in April of 1986, he gave the speech to the youth of the noble birthright. So that's why I got that on my mind today, as I used it in the previous video this morning. And what I realized in retrospect is that what Benson was doing was trying to flip us to the dark side, to tell us that we were the good guys, but secretly turning us to do wrong. That elitism is part of it. World War II's Nazi Germany, for example, the master race of blonde-haired, blue-eyed, 6'4" super soldiers was the ideal, even though Hitler was not even the ideal. And that Mormonism does that through a spiritualizing cleansing. Cleansing is a white supremacist term. And as I'm talking to other Mormons in church, and as I go off to Rick's, and as I go on my mission, and then eventually move to Utah, I see the elitism as even among whites there is a contest, a struggle for being the best of the best, which was a movie series that began in the 80s. It was about mixed martial arts competitions. It wasn't a documentary, it was an actual movie series. But Mormons aren't supposed to know about that. But I did see that in Mormonism, especially here in Utah. as I would go to the singles ward after my first wife had abandoned the marriage and finalized the divorce. And the younger singles ward, I was ostracized. Nobody wanted to associate with me because I was divorced. The younger generation of Mormons who were fresh off their missions for guys and newly graduated girls from high school, they were looking for the best of the best for an eternal marriage. And so divorce sort of left me out of the running. And I was even told, go be with your own kind. So yeah, I was just wasting my time here in Utah, realizing that there was no chance in hell I was ever going to get remarried again, I thought. Then I started dating a woman who was still living with her parents, and we had awesome dates, but her father came home when she had forgotten her keys, and so she was locked out of the house, and it was pouring rain, and so I had her stay in my car, and of course because the rain, the windows fogged up, so yeah, he was pissed because he was assuming the worst, though I was always on my good behavior with her. Doesn't matter to him. The outward appearance is all that matters. And that's part of the elitism, is the outward appearance. And so this is where the turmoil and stress that Mormons go through, especially for women in the church, as they are on record of being the highest per capita who take depression medication in the world. Their concept of perfection, even when religious leaders try to tell women it's not perfection, you're just wanting to be perfect, and they can never get it across to women in the church that you got anointed in the temple, you're now a Krista, you're perfect, you've done it. But they won't ever tell women this, and so women continue to struggle as they aren't given specific details to direct everything they do in their life, so that they can then know that they're doing the right thing. And that's part of the trap that the leaders set, is that by being vague in general and throwing out, we're not asking you to be perfectionists, we're just asking you to be perfect. And so that still stresses everybody out, because, well, what am I supposed to do? What time am I supposed to wake up in the morning? And how long am I allowed to shower? And what am I supposed to eat every single meal? And how much am I supposed to eat? They want their whole lives controlled for them, because that's how the leaders tell them their lives are supposed to be. And Mormons don't stop and go, wait a minute. I remember somewhere in, was it the Pearl of Great Price? About Lucifer's plan of happiness? Taking away agency? Yeah. Mormons don't see that their agency is being taken from them because of the brainwashing that the leaders have done to us. And the Mormons who leave the church leave for as I'm listening to pretty much just one issue. There are those who find out about other issues after they leave, because after they leave, they're wanting to see if there's others like them who have left, and then they go, oh, okay, Jeremy's CES letter, or John DeLynn, Mormon stories. But most people find out one particular issue that is the straw that breaks the camel's back, and they're out, and then they find out others. The whole concept never occurs to anybody that I've heard or learned about. And that's why I see the different groups all trying in their own singular issue and topic to make change in the church. The current one is Mormon blacks are trying to pressure the church to be more respectful and not as racist and elitist as they've been. And that was preceded by last year's Me Too movement in the church at BYU, trying to get BYU to back off of victims of rape. And it's just one issue after a time. And I've noticed, as I did a tally, there's almost 50 or so now different issues that are all trying to get the church to change and stop what they're doing in the way they're doing it. And nobody is actually realizing, maybe the church isn't true if we have to all together are trying to tell the church to change. Because isn't God perfect, and therefore if he's communicating directly to his prophets that they would have a perfect system in place? I mean, after all, it's almost 200 years since Joseph started the organization. Wouldn't it be more improved from when Joseph started it? Why are we going backwards from when Joseph started it? Why are we having to do the things that Joseph Smith had implemented, but it was stopped with Brigham Young? And nobody stops to think, maybe this isn't the right church. But the elitist mentality comes from the theology and the expanded theology that there were three groups of people in the pre-mortality, as Bruce R. McConkie called blacks fence sitters. Now, Bruce R. McConkie was wrong, not just because he singled out blacks, but everybody on earth during the apostasy time, according to that line of thinking of Bruce R. McConkie's, would be fence sitters. So it's not just blacks, it's also Asians, it's also whites, it's also South Americans, etc. Everybody on the earth, if the whole earth was in apostasy, everybody born on the earth at that time would therefore have been fence sitters according to Bruce R. McConkie's doctrine. But he didn't think of that, and Mormons therefore didn't think of that. And so, yes, if Brigham Young is not the authorized prophet of God, guess what that means now, Mormons? The Bruce R. McConkie doctrine says that we are not the elite. We were the fence sitters. And so the question now remains, is Bruce R. McConkie correct, or can we kick his doctrine to the curb and say, no, there's something flawed in that thinking, that there were fence sitters, and how they got placed here on earth. And a resulting consequence of Bruce R. McConkie was Saturday's Warrior. It was a BYU play, and then they turned it into a movie. And it was the Mormon created doctrine by the author of the play that in the spirit world we all knew each other, we were all friends, but we had our cliques. And so we had our BBFs or BFFs. What's the term for text messaging? I never got into text messaging, so I don't know that language. But the church had to then come out after the movie came out to tell Mormons, no, the doctrine is not where we stand on that as leaders of the church. It is false doctrine. We do not support it. We do not sustain it. And we encourage Mormons everywhere not to continue to believe it and perpetuate other branch-off doctrines from that, such as soulmates. That corresponded with certain movies from Hollywood that were coming out with soulmate chick flicks. And so Mormon girls especially would think, oh, I love this chick flick. Oh, soulmate, I want Saturday's Warrior. Oh, yeah, I'm sure in the spirit world I had a best friend who was male, and he's supposed to be my eternal companion, but he's now on earth and he's lost and fallen. So I have to struggle through life going single. Like I said, I've been in the singles ward. I know these. I've heard them from their lips. And so, yes, as much as Mormon women and ex-Mormon women do not come to my channels as much as males do, sorry, you speak the truth that we know. So you can't gaslight us into saying that's not what you mean, not what you said. We've got you on tape. And so, but yes, there is a movement that I've exposed also, that the oral tradition of Mormonism is rewriting the written scripture of Mormonism, as Moroni chapter 10 verses 4 and 5 have been completely rewritten. You talk to Mormons and they'll all say, oh, I'm getting this from Moroni chapter 10 verses 4 through 5, and that they get revelation as they read, ponder, and pray, and now they know the truth, and they don't have to do any work now. They don't have to do any further study. They don't have to compare it with scientific truth or logical argument, because they've got this idea in their head. Therefore, they know the answer now. And they are now the source of light and truth. No. No. You took out a few words, you changed the definitions of others, and so, yeah, that's part of the elitism, is to think that you know better than what the word is. And you see that with white supremacy in the GOP, as they say, oh, we want security for America, and they rewrite the Constitution according to their white supremacist thinking, and they come out with the guilt trips and the accusations that you're not a patriot because you're not believing them, even though you can show them from the Constitution, no, it says right here, you can't do this. But then the state laws, for example, state laws say, oh, we don't have to follow Article 6, even though it says we're supposed to follow the Constitution, because we're states and we're supposed to be independent to do our own laws. No! And that's what the Mormons do with that elitist behavior. Is that, oh, well, we're good Mormons. we do what's right. We've gone through the temple, we attend church, we read our scriptures, we say our prayers, and we talk the talk, and we pretend to walk the walk, giving an outward appearance rather than actually doing the work, because we get revelation, so we don't need to do the work. And so, hold on a second while I take care of this. I'll have to go back to it in a second. And that's that elitist mentality that is deceiving Mormons into thinking that they don't need to follow the scriptural rules. They then say, oh, well, we follow the living prophet. We don't listen to anybody else. Thanks to Benson, as an elder speaking at BYU, talking about the fundamentals of a prophet. That was so wrong in so many ways, and I've done videos on that. But yeah, Mormons justify it to refuse when somebody wants them to do something they don't want to do, but will ignore that they've ever said that for justifying themselves when they want others to do what they want them to do. And it is a type of hypocrisy, but again, they don't recognize the hypocrisy in themselves because they're in that elitist mainframe thinking, and so it doesn't apply to them. There's a comedian. She had her own YouTube channel. I think she was Comedy Central. I can't remember. But then she went and did something with TYT, trying to cover news with them. I haven't seen her much. She was only being tested by them on weekend shows at first. But I mean, she is incredibly clever and witty, talking about it's not wrong when we do it. Was one of the episodes or video clips that she had done, and that's Mormons' thinking, is that once you're in the position, everything you do, you get revelation, and therefore you're covered. Whatever you do is right. You don't have to worry about the fruits because your being in the position is the fruit. Oaks, for example, the fruits of the keys of the priesthood is that we're in the office. Oh dear God. And so they don't have to worry about not being translators. They don't have to worry about not being revelators of the signs in the heavens of the latter days to warn Mormons. They don't have to prophesy of anything that's going to happen, and they don't have to have us, inspiration to have storage bins like Joseph recommended to Pharaoh. And so during this coronavirus, when we could have stayed home and been supplied with supplies from the church, instead the church decided, no, we're not even going to bother. We did it for the Great Depression. We're not going to do anything more with it. We're just going to show it to all the world. See what we did during the Great Depression. Aren't we great? Praise of the world. And it's a failed system now. Completely and utterly failed during coronavirus. And so they did nothing with it. Didn't do any work because they got revelation. That's all they need to do. And they call themselves prophets because they're in the office. And so therefore everything they do is right. And that mentality gets passed on to Mormons. As Mormons think, oh, I'm Mormon. And even though our leaders tell me that I'm wicked, I'm still Mormon. I'm better than you. And that's what ex-Mormons are struggling with. Those who leave the church are being abused and bullied by Mormons who say, oh, you weren't strong enough. That survival of the fittest mentality of white supremacy. You are weak, and therefore you're being weeded out, cleansed from the church. That's the mentality that's going on right now. And I've had those comments directed at me, as I've had to silence one particular Mormon. As you know, I screen everything now. YouTube allows me to do that now, and so I screen all comments. And so I don't have the numerous comments that I did on my old channel where I was doing comment replies. But I'm still getting those people who do not recognize that I don't hold my comments. And I saw one and decided, you know what? I'm going to reply to him and condemn him for what he's doing. Because judge righteously. He's attacking me on my channel. He drew first blood. When somebody draws first blood wrongfully, they automatically lose any contest of argument. And that's the one secret that I'm now revealing 26 minutes in, which most of you have left. So the 1% that are still listening, there's the great grand secret to winning any argument against somebody, is when somebody attacks you wrongfully, accuses you of something falsely, you got them. And you just have to see the big picture as to how to do that. And the guy commented in such a way as he condemned himself. So I just said, you accused me of this when you said this. And he's silent, gone away. And using Mormon scripture to back me up. And it's not complicated. That's why Mormons stay away from me in argument. They only do the cowardly thing of putting the thumbs down, because they know they will not win an argument against me. But yeah, I myself am treated like all other ex-Mormons of the false accusations. Oh, we stopped studying our scriptures. We weren't loyal to the gospel. We weren't loyal to the church. We lost our testimony. You can't lose a testimony. It's like, oh, I lost the fruit. It was in my hand. I had it, and it just disappeared. You lose faith. Because if you just hold the seed in your hand, it's never going to produce fruit, which is the testimony, which is the witness, the manifestation, referring back to Moroni 10, verses 4 and 5. And so the seed dies if you don't do anything with it. There is a time frame. You can freeze it. It'll make the seed last longer. You can put it in the refrigerator, and that'll make it last for a longer duration, but not a freezing duration. But yeah, the seed dies if you don't plant it. Continue the cycle of life. And Mormons don't understand that concept when they get what they think is revelation from the Holy Ghost. They think they've got the fruit now. And they go around saying, look, I've got fruit. I don't see any fruit. It's here, right here. I testify to you that I have the fruit. And those who aren't in Mormonism are just going, what the hell? But those in Mormonism support it and affirm, oh yeah, I see the fruit. It's wonderful, isn't it, brother and sister? Yes, it's great. Fruit is great. No, all they're doing is holding a dead seed in their hand. And all Mormons use the same keywords to each other to build each other up and support, just like fascism, the bundle of sticks symbol. And you'll hear Mormons use that in school, in lessons. Is that, oh, when Mormons are all together, They're stronger. And that's what Benyon was my MTC president. Elder Bednar came out during this coronavirus and said, coronavirus is taking away our religious freedom. It's taking away our agency to gather at church. Is the Book of Mormon not the keystone of the doctrine? Weren't the poor Zoramites wondering, how are we going to worship once a week as we gather at the synagogue and the Rameumptom to give our rote testimony? And it all blows right over every Mormon's head. And it blew over Prophet Bednar's head. As he, like I said in my video that has become among the popular ones, the outbreaks that YouTube cannot suppress, and they probably don't want it suppressed because I'm getting so many thumbs down on that video, is by blaming a coronavirus for taking away our agency, as if Lucifer can possess coronavirus, and then for medical doctors to say, hey, we want to save your lives, stay home until we can get this under control and get a vaccine. To say that the medical doctors are aiding and abetting the evil coronavirus in taking away our agency to gather at church where we would be spreading the virus. Yeah, Bednar wants us dead. Just as Governor Herbert wants us dead. Just as Trump wants us dead. He asked everybody to drink bleach, inject each other with disinfectant stuff. It's horrifying that during a medical crisis, we have Americans, we have Mormons who don't want to listen to the medical experts. They'd rather follow the church leaders. And Nelson is a medical doctor of all things. And he's going contrary to the medical advice that he was educated in? This is all part of the elitism that they have brainwashed us with. And they are now punishing, torturing those who are still brainwashed. They're purging to purify the church even more, to secure the brainwashing when all this is said and done. Because they're going to bring out some stuff that we who left the church and want nothing more to do with it already left for. And so we won't be the elite. We are the enemy. Polygamy is one of those things. And blood atonement is likely to be another one, among others. So, this is what I grew up in. This is what I rebelled against as a kid. This is why I didn't get caught up in thinking blindly with whatever they were telling me, with whatever Mormon oral wind of doctrine was telling me. Because I searched for the fruit myself, replicated the precepts to find out, oh yeah, sure enough, you take the word that comes to your head and you try to make it a reality. You manifest it in the flesh. You make it, you build it, you create it, you design it, whatever it is that you get ideas for. And for me, videos. These are the perfect examples. The videos I do are the ideas that come to my head. This is how it works. And Mormons don't see it, as they keep putting thumbs down. Oh, we don't like your revelation. You're talking against us, Travis. that should tell you something. You know, I'm saying, hey, no fruit or very spoiled, rotten fruit that you don't want to eat. Only bananas can you turn into banana bread when they're brown. But other fruit you don't want to eat. It will be bad. You will have stomach cramps and pains and diarrhea and all sorts of stuff with spoiled, rotten fruit. When we're talking about ideas in your head, like white supremacy, elitism, yeah, it turns into you committing crimes in the name of your religion. And throughout history, people have been fighting wars in the name of religion. People have been committing horrible atrocities of kidnapping, hostage-taking, torture, and all sorts of other abuses, all in the name of religion. The Spanish Inquisition, horrible atrocity, and even World War II's Nazi Germany. It was a religious-backed movement, or anti-religion. You're not of our pursued interest. So, yeah, that was the dilemma, the controversy growing up in white supremacy, as they constantly tried to brainwash me and compel my thinking processes into the box of white supremacism. Unfortunately, I rebelled and eventually learned the errors of those fallacy arguments, and am now able to live free, as Mormons are now the zombies trying to take me back into zombieism. My ex-wife, second ex-wife, tried to manipulate me into saying, oh, I'm going to come back, but you got to go to church. I've got conditions. I said, no, the church is evil. No, it's not. It's the true church. Nelson's a prophet of God. No, the inverted pentagram, it's evil. No, the scripture right here in the Book of Mormon, priestcraft, evil. No, I'm not coming back with you unless you come back to church. I'm going to convert you back to the church. No. They don't understand. I cannot go back to the darkness because they don't understand that they are in the dark. They have been without light for so long. The darkness they are in is the light to them. That might be the title of this video. So, thus the struggle. My struggle. A little twisting around to the inversion version of it. The Mormons are the Nazis, and, you know,